How's it going? How's it going, everybody? Appreciate everyone typing in the chat. Pretty active chat for a Tuesday night. Um, just of course, let me know as I go through all the. I'm getting better with my the tech setup, but before I get going any further, just make sure everything's sound okay. If there's anything off, definitely let me know, and so I can adjust some things so I don't go too far in and there's any issue. So if I sound okay, give me a thumbs up or emoji check or whatever you want to do. Um, and then I can get started from there and then explain what will be. Sounds good? Cool. Awesome. Awesome. Cool. I appreciate it a ton. Yeah, so here you clear it. Perfect. Good. Yeah. Okay. It's getting better. So my wife's actually the big like tech person, and she's kind of taught me everything about like the streaming stuff. That's still all very new. Obviously you can see my beautiful blank wall I got. So I have to make it a little more colorful. But that's definitely for the future. I have a standing desk, so I'll have a more of a standing desk, be a little more, outgoing, standing up, nicer background, so everything get a little bit better. Um, so yeah, like I said, let's look at the comments here really quick. Yeah, and like I said, I plan on doing this seems like every Tuesday I'm doing a live stream. I want to do it twice a week, but I'm not always gonna be posting it on LinkedIn or anything like that. So definitely make sure to check out the YouTube or Data Frenchie for any upcoming classes. I'm also trying to bring on more people who are awesome data analytics, maybe some people in business analytics. Some of them will do more live webinars, some might do more career development, but I'm definitely trying to switch it up so it's not only just me doing it. Definitely bring in more voices, more opinions could always be more helpful. Um, Going through this, so I see a comment. Doesn't matter if we don't know anything about Tableau yet. So the name of the class, the title on YouTube is "Create Your First Dashboard in Tableau." Like I'm gonna go through this like you've never ever used it before. Now there will be some parts I go a little bit quicker. Maybe it's because I've been working with it for a few years and some things might come a little bit easier to me. But the whole entire part of this is the concept part. Just really trying to show like how Tableau works. You know, what do how do we connect it to data? How do we use the marks? How do we use a dashboard? Like I'll be going through those steps. So if you're here to make this extremely powerful, insane dashboard, this is definitely not it. I will be having some of those. I'm also planning, and you can let me know in the chat if you think this might not be a bad idea. But I'm definitely trying to do more like longer length ones. Like during the week, I typically try to keep it an hour to an hour and a half at most. But I do want to do ones that are more like 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, and more that are way more drawn in. Some more intermediate stuff in there too. So if that sounds good, you can let me know because I don't mind doing it. I don't mind sitting down and teaching for hours, but I want to make sure if people are interested, I would definitely do it. But yeah, the whole point of this is that you have not really used Tableau before. Maybe you've used Power BI or Looker, or maybe you haven't even touched any BI tool or anything like that. Like the whole point of this is we're going to take a data set. I'm going to walk you through my thinking and then kind of show different parts of Tableau, see what questions you have along the way. But the whole point of this is that we just want to learn along the way. Of course, making a dashboard is the end story, right? But I want to kind of teach along the way, why are we using this chart? Why are we doing this calculation? Why are we putting the filters over here? Like every single thing I do, I'm going to try to explain. So it's not me just sitting here making a project. If I did it, I could probably do it in 20 minutes. But I want to take my time, go through each step. And of course, I have the chat open right here to the side, which you guys are doing an amazing job with the keeping this very active. I really appreciate that. But of course, I'll see anything on the side with the chat. I'll answer questions along the way. I'll take breaks every 5-10 minutes to answer any questions. And at the very end, you will have a dashboard. Will it be the most insanely powerful one? No, not at all. The whole point of it, though, is along the way that you take notes, ask questions, and at the very end, you maybe go back and say, oh, actually, I want to use this chart instead of that chart, or I want to use this color instead of that color. That's fine, because guess what? You do that, you can put that in your portfolio. Now you have a Tableau project. Is it better to download the public version? Yeah, I would highly recommend if you have Tableau. You can use Tableau public on just like a web browser, but there are limitations to what you can do in it. I highly recommend being able to download it to your laptop, your PC, or whatever. just because it's a lot more easier to work with connection wise and also the abilities to actually use the tool. So I highly recommend it. But of course you do it within the browser too, but there are just limitations and also performance. Some things could take a little longer or we might have issues working with it. And as a reminder, if you're on YouTube, the data set's in the description. It's a Google Sheet. All you gotta do is go in there and export it as an Excel file, and you're good to go. If you came over from my website, there's a link. If you click download class materials, you get the Excel file right there. So what I'm gonna do first, so I don't keep talking for another 40 minutes, is I'm going to just connect it to data really quick, and I want to make sure that this part is make it as straightforward, but also understand what you could do with it. More jobs in Tableau or Power BI. Completely depends where you are. If you're in North America, it's pretty split. Tableau, Power BI. If you're more international, Power BI is a little more of a controls market. So if you're in more North America, it's good to know a little bit of both. If you're more international, Power BI is definitely the more used one, should I say. So all you gotta do with the data, you could do it in a couple places. You go to data, add a data source, file, go to a million other places. And also make sure, if you haven't already, create a Tableau public account, because in order to save this, you need an account. If you don't have one, you cannot save it. So make sure, and I'll take my time for the first 5-10 minutes, but make sure if you don't have an account, go to Tableau public, make one, because if not, you literally cannot save your work. And the whole point of this is that you take your work and you show it off to people. So the first thing is making sure that you go to connect to data. And right here is Tableau Public. If you don't know, Tableau Public is a free version of Tableau. Tableau Desktop, regular just Tableau Desktop, is the paid version. That's it's not something that you probably would pay for if you're going through your learning phase. It's not really worth it to get the desktop version for everything you need. You could get everything you need within Public. But just because of that, Tableau Public has some limitations with what kind of files you can connect to. With this, though, we are totally fine because the file I gave you is an Excel file. So all we got to do is we want to click at Microsoft Excel. And also there are different things where, I do have a Google Sheet that you can connect it to a Google Drive and all that kind of stuff. But to play it nice simple, we're going to use Microsoft Excel. It's going to Excel. You click that and, yep, a bunch of these files show up. And if you download the file, it should be called Tableau Class 12125. Let me click open there. Give that a quick second. Let me see. As beginner analyst, learning Tableau benefits more. Like I said, there's not a wrong decision in what you decide on which BI tool you want to learn, whether it be Tableau or Power BI. There isn't a wrong choice. I think it comes down to more when you're learning, I think it's very wise to spend some time in both. Not so much that, there are some differences. Power BI is kind of a one-stop platform where you can do Power Query, do all your data transformations all in one spot. Tableau Public is a little bit more limited from a data clean perspective. Tableau Public has something called Tableau Prep, which is another paid service that does some of the stuff that Power BI does, but because we're not going to spend thousands of dollars on stuff like this when we're making projects. So Tableau is good to know because lots of companies use it. It's still the most used BI tool within North America, but Power BI is getting very close. And I think Power BI though too has a lot of stuff within it from data clean perspective, and also things like DAX, Power Query. I definitely think you should spend time in both. But definitely don't do only one. Spend a little time in both, because I find that the things especially I talk about in this one on what type of chart, what type of way where we're putting our filters, that kind of the dashboard etiquette can transfer to any tool. All you gotta do is for Tableau and Power BI is just understand the interface and what goes into each tool. So I would focus on both, but don't. My first job was Tableau heavy. I have not used Tableau much since my first job in data. So things could change very quickly. Your first job might be very Power BI heavy or might be Tableau heavy. But if you have an understanding of both, you don't have to be amazing at them, but just have an understanding of both, leave yourself very open to more opportunities that come up. So what happens is once you bring in the sheet, This will come up with, it'll pick up on the data you bring in, right? So this one, it's just, if you were to look at the Excel export, it's just one tab, and it's called data set. So it picks up as data set, and what it does right here is Tableau does a job of understanding, okay, what kind of data am I working with? Is it a text data? Is it numbers? And it'll kind of, you can see right here where if you see like ABC, that means it's picking up as a text. If it's a, the number symbol, it's a number. If you see a calendar, it's a date. So you can see right here, and also you see a globe, that means it's a location based. So you can see right here, this is exactly what's picking up. We have everything that we need. Everything looks okay. Now, if you were in a situation, like I said, this is supposed to be more, okay, we are trying to do our first dashboard. If we're kind of doing more of a, intermediate advanced project, you'd be having, connecting to a SQL server or having an Excel file with 5 tabs, and you have to kind of join data and stuff like that, which is what happened here. So what's really great about Tableau, and also goes with Power BI, is that if you understand the concepts of like SQL, left joins, inner joins, full joins, stuff like that, then you would understand how this process could work when you have to connect data or join them. But for right now, we just have one sheet, so we don't really need to worry about too much of that part. Also, if you're ever interested in me doing more of a, I hate saying the word advanced, because to some people it might feel advanced, some people not. But I'll say this. If you're looking for more of a in-depth, challenging project within Tableau or Power BI, throw something in a chat, and then maybe I'll think about it sometime next month. So when we're good with our data, we could go to sheet 1. And I want you to understand that how Tableau works in this sense. So if we look over here to the left, we have what we call, basically, this is the whole entire sheet, right? This is the data set that we were working with. These are all the different rows, and then these are all different numbers here. There are some differences within Tableau where we have things called dimensions, which are in blue, and measures, which are in green. There are differences with it. That just kind of gives you a heads up on what kind of calculations you can do within it, right? So like, for example, these type of fields can be summed, averaged. These can only basically be like counted. So think of it almost like an aggregation type thing. This will come in handy when you have to do certain charts, which kind of ask you, okay, for example, if you want to do a bar chart, you need to have at least one measure. If you want to do a area chart, you need at least one measure, and so on. So it's kind of good to understand the type of data you're working with and understanding what you're about to get into to make sure we're not kind of making an incorrect visual or anything like that. And we have right here, it's called sheet 1. So think of this almost like almost like this is how I do my work in Excel, where I have like tabs where I'm just like doing work in. So these can be like specific views where, let's say I'm making a dashboard that's gonna have 4 charts on it. I'm gonna have 4 worksheets. Okay, so each worksheet is like its own view. And then at the very end, we have something called a dashboard, which is right here, where we're gonna put all together on one tab. So before I get into this, into the first part, and I'll explain how we're gonna make this dashboard, I'm also going into this pretty blindly. I've never really made a dashboard with this data set before, so I'm kind of like with you guys right now, where I'm going to be going through this and seeing what makes most sense with the story we're trying to tell. Before I get started, does anyone have any questions or anything like that before I get started to ensure that I'm not missing anything? I'll give it like 10 seconds in case anyone has any questions before I get started. Okay, good. Any issues with data set? All good? Okay. So let's get going here. So I kind of want to go back really quickly and just look at our data in general. All good? Cool, thank you. And so if you took my intro to SQL course, or you were here the other week for Excel, this is like one of my favorite data sets to work with. I made this one myself. It's a data set based off a call center. And the reason why I like it is that there's a ton of different categories we can work with here. But because of that, we have to think that, I think that most of us, I think, understand how a call center works, right? We call in, customers have an issue or something going on, and things get resolved. So we got to think, what would a stakeholder or your boss who works at a call center want to see? That's kind of what we got to think first when we make this project. We don't want to make 12 different charts for no reason, right? A properly made dashboard is supposed to completely tell a story on what is actually happening. And sometimes when you work with a data set, you might not be able to tell the entire story, right? There might be 15 tables going on or 10 million rows, and it might be hard to get everything, but that's fine. Not every dashboard solves every problem. So within this, we have to think by looking at the column headers, the type of data we have, like what can we try to inform our boss what's going on? And if it's about a call center, I don't know about you, but call centers usually, we don't hear a lot of good. Everyone's kind of calling in, complaining, yelling. So we probably have to highlight some, what call centers did the best with calls, which ones did the worst with calls. So we kind of might want to highlight what's going on there. Maybe also look at the satisfaction score. Maybe certain call centers had a better satisfaction. Which ones answered calls quicker? Which ones, had more specific reasons? Maybe one call center is taking too much, and we don't know these answers. There's so many questions we could answer, but we have no idea until we actually dive into it. What was it? All good? Awesome. Appreciate that. Can you repeat what I said about dimensions? Yeah, of course, no problem. Go back. So if you see it right here, let me see. I can't really zoom in on my computer right now. But you see right here, basically, how it's kind of split into like two. You see right here, like these are all like in blue, like the ABC and the calendar, and down here is all in green. So up here in the blue is a dimension, and green is a measure. So think of it this way, right? If it's a numeric value, it's a measure. It's something you can measure. It's something you can calculate off of. A dimension is something that, if you just think of it as an aggregation perspective, you can't sum a reason, right? Reason is it's a text. It's think of like a category, right? Think of it that way. These are almost in a way like categories. These are things you could group based off of, and these are things that we can calculate based off, right? So for example, like if I want to see what was the average score for each reason, right? I'm going to use the CSAT score, which is a measure, and I'm going to base that off of reason by each category within that reason category. So that's kind of how they work together. And I think that, logically might think, of course, I understand, like reason, I can't calculate this and that. But this comes in handy, especially when working with data sets that have like 50 columns or coming from 12 different tables, and just understanding, especially over here with the chart, on it tells you exactly what you need to even make the chart. So if you want to accomplish some of these more, you probably won't touch these too often, but if you ever get to them, you need to understand like what you need to actually make them and not just go in blindly. So without further ado, let's get into this. And I think the first thing I want to do is I just want to get a general overview of what we're working with here. So what I mean by that is kind of the main things, like how many calls came in, what was our average score, and let's see. Yeah, we see how many calls came in. How many calls came in? Average customer rating, and I guess average call duration. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Each column. Okay, brief. I'll keep it very brief, but no problem. ID is, think of it like a unique ID for each individual call. Okay, like ID. This ID is specific to the one call that came in. Customer name, that's the name of the customer who called in. Sentiment is basically how did the call go. Neutral means went okay. Very positive, they were happy. Very negative, awful call. That could come in, very handy. This part comes in very, very handy, right? That tells exactly what happened. CSAT score, customer satisfaction score, scale 1 to 10. 1 meaning horrific, 10 meaning perfect. So, of course, we don't want to see too many ones within here. Call timestamp, that's the date that the call came in. The reason is what was the specific reason why they called. It could be a billing question, service outage. Just think of it as a call center, so let's pretend almost like this is for an internet service, right? So maybe a question about their billing, or maybe their internet went out, or something, or maybe they called to make a payment. So these are different reasons on why they called. City and state, this is based in the US data, so city and state where they're from. Channel is basically how did they reach out? Was it through the call center? Did they physically call? Did they communicate to a chat bot, right? Did they go online, do a chat? Did they email? So that's just different ways on how they reached out to the company. The response time. So think of it this way: within SLA, above SLA, and below SLA. So SLA is kind of a tracker on basically the expected response time for when you expect a call. And this is kind of like if you're involved in like a lot of billing or pricing within companies. A lot of times how companies work, not to get too in depth, is they literally call center reps have almost like sometimes a demand where they have to answer within 30 seconds or they have to answer within 20 seconds or something like that. So within here, it's like, okay, like did they answer it within the time frame that they should have? For example, let's say 20 to 30 seconds. If they did, it says within. If it took longer than 30 seconds, it'll say above. If it took less than the time frame, which is good, then below. Right? So within here, anything you see above SLA is bad, within is expected, and below is good. Call duration minutes, just how long the call went. And then the call center is where exactly did the communication come from? Did it come from Los Angeles, Baltimore, or somewhere else? So that's how the data set works. If you have any questions, you can feel free to continue to let me know in the chat. So like I said, the first thing I want to do is I kind of want to get my overall KPIs. I just want to understand the data I'm working with here. So I kind of want to figure out how many calls came in, what was the average customer score, and also what was the average call duration in minutes. Probably don't need the last one, but we're going to do it just to understand how this all works. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just simply take, so I got to think about this. I'm going to ask the chat. I want to figure out how many calls came in. Which column should I use here to figure out how many calls came in? So basically, I'm gonna have to count. I'm gonna have to use some kind of like count function within here to figure out how many calls came in. But which one? Yep, ID. Yep, very good. Yep, ID is by far the best one because there's a unique ID in each one. ID will be the best one to use. So what I'm gonna do with ID, I'm gonna kind of show you a couple things. I'm going to go here and bring it to rows. And as I say, add all members, filtered and add. I'm just going to do this so you can see something really quick. And you'll see, okay, like every single ID came in, right? Like, so that's a little ridiculous, right? We don't need all that. What we could do though, if you go to the right click here, is do measure and turn it to count. Okay. So now it says count. You see, oh, it's at a bar graph. Okay. Well, don't want that. As a table. Okay. So we're all set there with that. We have it basically, think of it like kind of like how you would use anything else within like Excel or anything like that, right? Count, min, max, all that kind of stuff. That's pretty much all we would need. Next up, do I want to put it all on one or let me see. How do I want to do this? How do I want to do this? Yeah, I'm going to do it like that. Cool. Let me go back a little bit so we're good. Let me go back here. So what I'm going to do is that sometimes I like to put them on individual sheets, but I'm going to put all three on one. I kind of want it going across on just one sheet right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the next one, which is going to be what is it? CSAT score right here. And I'm going to show you a couple things. I'm going to drag this over to text because you might think, okay, I want to put another one in there. But now we see that it's all kind of bunched up into just in one basic box. And we don't want that. We kind of want it all separated into its own row or column. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to drag this over to columns, turn that into a table, and now we're all good here with this. See, now we have it in a table format. This is going to be much more useful, and we're good. I'm going to drag this up to columns, even better, because I kind of want this to go across and stuff like that. And what I want to do, though, is I don't want the total amount of the score there. Like, we have to kind of tell them, like, we want the average. Okay, so take all the different scores to kind of get an average out of it. So I'm going to go here, go to measure, and go to average. and then we get 6. Okay. Thing about that is I don't want it. I don't want to be a whole number. I want to get at least maybe another decimal in there because I think that I don't want to be a 5.6 and we say 6. Like I want to be as accurate as it could be. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to drag this out a little bit too. There we go. I'm going to right click on the 6 and go to format. And now within here, before we kind of get into this, right, this is where you basically could change anything, whether it be the type of font you use, the size of it, all that stuff. All I'm going to do right now is go to the fields, go to average CSAT score. And we're right here on numbers. And all we're going to do is go to number custom. And let's make that just one decimal place right here. So it's going to be right here on the numbers custom. We just want to make it one decimal spot. So that's all I want to work with. I don't want 2 or 3 or anything like that. Just one's fine. One's perfectly fine. So that one's fine there. And then the next one I'm going to add in is call duration. Here we go. And do the same thing. I want the average call duration. Average. Same thing. Format that. We're going to put that also number custom. Still leave it. So you might think, okay, it rounds to 25 on the dot. I still want to have it as a 0.0 because I want to keep it at least consistent with the score. I want to keep it a consistent rhythm. I don't want to have one whole number, one with a decimal, to keep it consistent. And what I'm going to do now is a couple things. I want to format the header. I want to edit the alias. So instead of saying count of ID, I'm just going to call this total calls. Cool. I'm going to edit this. Call it just average CSAT score. And then this one, average, oh gosh, call length. And in parentheses, I'm going to put like minutes. Okay. So that's good there. And like I said, any additional stuff I'm going to change from because I'm going to make these a lot larger. I'm going to do that at the end when we get to the dashboard. Let me rename this, just called KPIs. So yeah, does anyone have any questions about how this is all set up? How I got them to where they are now? How I changed the headers or anything like that? How I made them decimals? Does anyone have any questions about the KPIs part of this? Give like 10-15 seconds in case anyone has questions on it before move on with that. Can you go quickly about it again? Quickly. Okay. Quickly. I'll go quick. Okay. So quickly about it. Okay, so let me rephrase that. Do you want me to do it again, but do it a little bit faster, I guess, with it? Is that what you're asking? You want me to do it again? And how do I rename column? So when you run a renamed column, if you go over any of these headers, right click on it and go to edit alias right here. You'll be able to edit right there. And like I said, I'm not sure if the version on the browser can allow you to do that. Like I said, I'm on the desktop version. So with that, right click edit alias. Okay, so you want me to do it? Okay, no problem. I'll do it right here again. I'll take this one out a little bit. So I'm going to go this one a little bit quicker. Okay, I might not talk much during this, but you asked for it, I'll do it. So let me pull in the ID. So I got to think. I'm trying to think of the 3 columns I need. I need ID. I need the CSAT score, call duration. I basically want to bring them all 3 in. And I'm going to put them all in a column going. I want to put them all basically into each of their own column. So I'm going to take ID and go to here, throw it in as a text really quick. Measure that as a count. And I'm going to CSAT score. Make that text. And then I'm going to make this average. And I'll fix that in a little bit. And then I'm going to take call duration. Average. Makes it into a table. See, now we're in a table format. And I'm going to take measure names right here and go to columns. And in this sense, I don't want to be in this way. I want to go total calls and then the CSAT score and then call length. So I'm going to do is drag up ID to go on top right here in this order. Very good. To format these numbers, right click onto the number, format, go to fields, average CSAT score, custom number, 1 decimal place, and then repeat the same for call duration, 1 decimal place, and then rename them to, they're all renamed, so there you go. That is how it is done. That's how it's done. So basically all I got to think is like, okay, think logically here, right? With the table format here, since it's a text table, we're able to kind of put them into our own columns, stuff like that. Yeah, of course, yeah, no problem. No problem at all. It never hurts to ask, right? Never hurts to ask. If, hey, can you do this again? It never hurts to ask. Worst you say, worst can happen is no. So we're good there. Let's go to the next one. Let's go. So I want to understand let's see, just how many calls in general came into each call center. Why do you need to put them in text box, man? You don't have to. You don't have to. There are like a couple ways. I just like it's some this could be habit of like I like to just throw them all I like to kind of put them all as a text right away. So if I kind of tell Tableau, okay, it's a text, it's in text, because I want this to show up as a numeric value. I don't want this being, because sometimes Tableau will think, oh, you're trying to make a bar chart. No, I'm not. No. I just want the number. That's it. Oh, you want this? Like, no. If you put it as a text, it'll automatically calculate it as a number for you. So I like to put like all 3 in there and then go right to click making a table. So it kind of Tableau will picks up like, okay, all 3 of these are text. We're going to make this into a table now. And I could just simply move it from rows to columns or however I want, and then I'm done with it. That's the way I do it. It other ways could probably be done in 2 seconds less, but like I like to just almost reassure. Okay, I want to make this a text. I want to make this a text. I want to make it a text, and then move, done. I like to just kind of go that way, kind of like just a more proper way instead of just throwing stuff in and clicking around. That's the way I do it. I just like kind of throwing things as text right away. So the next thing is I just want to simply figure out how many calls came into each call center. That's it. Pretty straightforward. How many calls went into each call center. So in order to do this, I have to think logically, right? Think about the rows, think about the columns. So what we do right now is for call center, I got to think, okay, the call center is right here. Let me drag it into rows. So we see there's 4 different call centers. There's Baltimore, Chicago, Denver, Los Angeles. So we're all good there. I just want to now simply know how much came into each call center. So all I got to do here is I'm going to drag an ID, and let's see how this goes. I want to drag ID in as text, and we get this crazy number, measure, count, done. And we got to think that too, right? Because we're trying to figure out how much something is based off that. This also be something where we're taking another dimension and try to find the count of another dimension. And we can see right here, because we kind of took something here that was a set text field or anything like that, you can see now that because we did a aggregation, we did count on ID, it's green. So it's kind of telling you like, this is not being used as a measure. We are measuring this based off the aggregation you just did. So that's why it's showing up as green. And we have what we have here. We have Baltimore has, LA had the most. Denver only got 2,000. Might have to look into that maybe to figure out what's going on. So count. Oh, yeah. No, great question. So with count and then count distinct, think of it this way. Let me think of this way to visualize this. So let's say 5 people called, right? If you got 5 calls came in, and they were from 3 people. Or I'll think of a better example. 3 calls came in, 2 people called. One of those people called twice, one other person called once. If you count those 3 calls and just use the count function, you'll get 3. But if you do count distinct, you'll get 2. Count distinct just says how many times does each ID show up at least just like once, right? So if an ID on here comes in twice, right? Let's say that what's a Felipe or whatever. Let's say a Felipe or Phil, whatever it is, calls in 5 times. Let's say he calls in 5 times. If I do count, I get number 5 as a return. If I do count distinct, I just get 1. Count distinct just counts how many times each one distinctly came in. So in this sense, if I did count distinct, this number would be like all my KPIs would be way off. This number would be much lower because maybe some people called in more than once throughout the month. If I want to figure each one on its own and not worry if it came in more than once, I use count. Yep, it's all on YouTube. Yep, it's all on YouTube and on my website too. All this that's what I do on YouTube Live. It's all recorded, so you can watch this whenever you want. All recorded. What I'm gonna do right now is I want to turn this into a bar graph. There we go. I like that. Do I want to keep it going horizontal or vertical? I'm gonna keep it probably this way for now. I do want to have the colors. Yeah, I want the numbers going from highest to lowest. So that's a little bit better. A couple things here. So we see, like I said, it's a simple bar chart, but you might think, oh, like I want to do this chart, that chart. This chart clearly tells you right away what had the most calls or not, right? Clearly, you could see right away visually which one had the most, which one didn't. And at the end of the day, that's the job of this chart. Like, we don't need to make it complex. Sometimes you just got to show it in one way or the other. And a simple bar chart in this way tells you right away what did more than the other. Very simply. But I'm going to make a couple editing changes here. Oh, I almost got rolled my E right there or whatnot. So, make a couple of changes here to make this a little bit easier to consume because we don't need all these different aspects of it. We kind of just need the 4 bars and how much came in. So, what I'm going to do here is we don't need this bottom. We know we're counting of the ID. We know this. Like, we don't need any of this. So I'm going to right-click here and get rid of show header. So now we're left with this just bar. You might think, Chris, what in the heck are you doing? Like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we going to do with this? Well, don't worry. I got you covered right now. So what we want to do here is right-click into it and go to Format. And what we want to do is go to Lines. And we're on the sheet right here. We're going to do for every single one that is here, none. None, none, none. And my favorite one here, none. Right? So, what the hell's going on? Comms. There you go. Forgot comms, none. So all these should say none right here. Every single one. These will say none, but make sure not all none here, and then the columns grid lines none. And you might think, okay, why no grid lines? How are we gonna know where it's at? Don't worry, this is the one right here. All I want to do is my way of just doing it. I like to just drag it all right here, so it connects to each one. You see, it's all each one's kind of like bolded now. That means we have selected it. We're going to right click. And we're going to do mark label, always show. And look at that. I think personally this is just a way easier way to show off how much came in without us having to have all these lines or all these labels that don't need to be shown. We just don't need it. Like, it's only 4 rows. We don't need a million. We don't need access here. We don't need that. We know what we're counting. Like, we don't need all that stuff. So that's all good there, right? And now the last thing to make sure that when people view this dashboard that they know what their understanding is, we want to make sure we're understanding the color arrangement. Because right now each one's blue. And that's fine. But we kind of want each one to have a specific value to it. And the way to do that is we could do a couple things. We could do it from, darker blue means high, lighter blue means low, but we don't want that either. I want people to know when they click into this that each of the call centers have its own specific color. How I'm going to do that is I'm going to take the call center column here, drag it into color, and now each one has its own color. So now when people view the chart or view the dashboard, let's say on the dashboard you have multiple charts that talk about Los Angeles. Well, on each chart, you should have then this color be associated with it. Every time that Denver shows up, it should have that color red. Every time Chicago shows up, it should have that orange color. And by keeping it consistent among all of your charts when it shows the city, well, make sure when people see that color, they know what you're talking about. All good there. And then, of course, if you want to change the colors, you go to Edit Color, and you can go into here and assign specific colors that you want and whatnot. But I'm not going to. I'm just for the sake of this, I'm not going to really spend too much time making colors. That's something if you want to do in your own terms, you can change whatever colors you want. But we're all good here with this one. I'm going to call this one just call center. Call it that. Next one. Also, if anyone has any questions on this, feel free to let me know, and I can go back and answer those questions. Next one is, let's do this one. Let's make a map. Let's make a map here. So if we want to make a map, we have to understand that the data needs to pick it up as a location. And if we see these globes right here, that means that it is a geographic measurement. It means we could use it for our map features. But there's something we have to do before that. Before we do that, we're going to take the latitude right down here. Latitude, throw in the rows. Longitude up the columns. Give it a second. There we go. And now it picks up that we are trying to create a map here. So now Tableau knows, okay, I get what we're trying to do. Let's, go make a map here. Now, how I want to do this is a few different things. I might mess around here a little bit. I probably want to see which states had the most calls and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to state, go to label. Perfect. There we go. And also, if you want to move around, if you go down here, there's this plus button and these arrows. Now you can move around without anything happening. Okay, so we got the label. So now we have initiated, with Tableau that we threw into state into label, which now is picking up on all of these at its own state, right? So we have that, but I also want I want some color in here, right? So to kind of keep it consistent, I want to figure out how many calls came in from each state. So if I take the ID column right here and drag over the color, let's see what happens. Oh gosh. We go to count. There we go. Want to mess with me there. So we're all good there. And like I said, by us taking ID, dragging color, and then, turning that into a count, we now can show this map as, let me get rid of this because we don't need to show the labels anymore. Now when we show this map, once again, when we look at this map, and let's not forget about Alaska taking up, oh gosh, if you're from Alaska, I'm sorry, it's just doing maps with it, you have to kind of zoom out a little bit when you do it, that's all. But we can clearly see right away by looking at this which states had the most calls by just looking at the color. The darker blue, as shown right here, means that they received the most calls. Lighter blue, not as many. So this come in handy, right? You can see California, Texas, Florida, New York, Virginia, Minnesota, Colorado, all of them kind of, have, some as well. The thing that's important here is, okay, why are we not labeling them? Why don't we see how many numbers there were, stuff like that? The thing is, it wouldn't look bad in like Texas or California or Wyoming because there's a lot of space. But if we try to label something like where I'm from, New Jersey, it's not gonna fit. It's not gonna fit over here, right? These are gonna look terrible. It's not gonna be helpful at all to your reader. They could simply understand that within the tooltip here, right? If we scroll over, right, and you see the tooltip, by the way, is when you scroll here, you see like state and then total calls. That's what we call the tooltip. We can also change tooltips if you want to like add in things within here. Like for example, if I just type in like hi, now it gets added to it. So tooltip's good in case you want to like say specific information, but that's definitely for another day. But they can scroll over it. If they really want to know these numbers, they can scroll over and just see how many calls came in, and that's fine, right? And also, I think if they look at the colors, they could tell which one had more, which one did. So that's how you make a map within there. I'm just call this one map. Keep it straightforward. And then I want to make one more because I'm trying to envision how I want this to look. And let's show how many calls came in just like overall, like year over year and stuff like that. Or a month, day over day. Because this data source is only for the month of like October. So for there, let's do another sheet. This will be our last one. We'll just call this one. I'm just calling it line graph for now. I don't know exactly how. I don't know where it's gonna go, but we're gonna go with this here. I basically want to show like a line graph of like, okay, what's the trend of calls coming in every day throughout the time period. So how I want to do this is we're using a different one. We're using the call stamp value. Throw into rows. And when you throw it in there, it's going to pick up like what it thinks. Okay, it's just only showed a year, right? But we don't want the year. We want each date individually. So go to the click right here and go down to, let's go to day. Let's go here. Perfect. Good. Okay, so now we have each day going on here. Let's see. Do I want to keep it like this? Exact date. Yeah, exact date. That's what I want to do here. Yeah. So like I said, when we're pulling in call timestamp goes into rows, and we want to change that into exact date. We don't want to do what it does automatically by putting it to year. We want to go to exact date. So within here, right, it's just a blank amount. But just like before, we're going to put the ID into text, which will populate here. Don't worry. Change that to a count. And then you're good. So this is how many calls came in each day. Now, I might want to show this off differently. I might want to show a chart. I have no idea how it's going to look. This could look putrid, so just bear with me here. I might want to show a kind of like a comparison on how many calls came in. Maybe let's see based on the type of calls came in. Maybe let's look at the what would it be? Oh gosh. Oh my brain is channel. Yep. I'm gonna pull in channel to columns, so we get like basic each one. How many were call center? How many were chatbots? Email, web. Maybe we'll see just how each one was how much each one came in overall. And we see right here actually we see that there was one on Halloween. This is actually a good example. I had no idea this was gonna happen. So you might not want to show this one because it's like, okay, if this is just one call that came out on 31st, like this might not be. This might actually like hurt our visual and what we're trying to show off. So I'm gonna go down to here, right click and do exclude, and now we're just work with that. That's totally fine. I think that's fine. When you're doing charts, like if you're off by one call over the 33,000, you're totally fine, right? You're gonna be fine because the whole point of this is this visual is not gonna. It's just showing trends. It's not really showing the exact numbers. It's totally fine to exclude that like one outlier. Now, if there's some other stuff going on, you would consult with your manager. Hey, how do we handle this one call on 31st? You probably get together with him or her and say, we're going to exclude this one, but let's make sure we exclude it from this as well. So in real life, there's more conversation than just right-clicking and getting rid of. But for the sake of this, we're getting rid of this so we can make our former chart right here. Let's see. What do I want to do? Let's do how'd you get the first column there? So all you gotta do is all I did and how it's set up this way is you pull in call timestamp into rows, and it's gonna ask like it's gonna probably pull it in as like a year automatically. And if you go to the right click, go down to exact date. That should be how it's done. Feel free to continue asking questions in case something comes up. I will feel free to. I'll answer it. I want to see how I want to show this off here. Look at a line. No, oh God, it's messing it up. Let's go. I don't want year. Give me the exact date. Okay. Um, you know, the chart might not tell a ton because it seems to be like this is kind of like where we could think about this, right? Let's kind of look at this right now. I want you guys to. Dashboarding is very subjective, right? I might see things one way, you might see it differently. When you see this chart, what kind of chart? It's just a line chart, normal line chart right here, normal line chart. That's it, normal line chart. When you see this chart right here, what do you see? Like, what if someone's gonna come to you, right? Like, these are all different types of calls, right? This is from the call center where people actually answered the phone. This one's a chat bot. This one's email. This is just like a web contact. What does this chart like tell you when you see this? What do you kind of come from? What conclusions do you kind of come from this one? I have like a few, but like the whole point is we're trying to find trends on like what was the traffic like. When you look at this, like what do you see? Give it a little bit. I kind of want to see what your opinions are because I have mine. I want to make sure, we all try to see what we're thinking in this situation. Because the whole point is that we're trying, like I said, we're trying to form on, maybe there's a time period here, a time period there. But when you see this, like, what do you think? Is it useful? Not useful? Is it obvious something's happening? Is it kind of confusing? Like, what do you think when you see this chart? Give it a little bit of time. So it's confusing. Okay, so confusing. If you don't mind, and this is if you don't mind, right? I'm all that I kind of want to have maybe a little conversation. Just confusing in what way? Highs and lows. Okay. So this is highest number on call center, lowest mid others. Don't explain too much, maybe. Good. Go to the giant spike. Most people use chatbots. Yeah. So I think that the best way to do it. Yeah, it's like it's very obvious that the call center channel was used the most, right? But that's not even like I think like Walter, you said it best in that first little bit. It doesn't explain too much. It doesn't really tell us much of anything. Like, yes, okay, we get it. The call center has had more volume. That's something that we could just figure out by looking at data on an Excel sheet, right? We don't really need Tableau to tell us that. The problem is that it's too consistent. It's just there's not like the amount of difference from highs and lows. We're talking like 10, 20 difference. Like there's not a lot going on. There's not a lot of ups and downs. Like they're not valleys. These are kind of like plateauing in a way. So at no point is anything significant really happening. So it's very obvious that the story here is that call center was used the most, but like there's no point to this chart. There's just no point. Like there's no point. This is what's important about the making a project here. Is I'm speaking like Italian right now. You don't want to put this in there because there is no point to it. It's very obvious what is happening, and it's nothing significant. It's nothing significant that's happening. It's just there's nothing of substance here. So what's important here is that we get rid of this, right? Maybe let's take a look at something else. Maybe we'll see, what was it? If we're trying to look at, trends. We're trying to look at over time, right? obviously using this will probably not work. Maybe let's see how many calls came in based off the reason. Maybe there are some people had more calls come in based off billing on certain dates than others. Maybe that's something else we gotta look at, right? So my advice in this situation is we are going to get rid of the count of ID, and I'm going to replace that with reason. And for that, I'm just going to hover over it right here. Get rid of that. I'm going to do a count of reason. And channel. I got to replace channel as well. So I'm going to do reason for color. And yeah, like same thing. Literally same thing. Now, this does also, though, tell a different story. Now, is this the right chart? No, this is not the right chart to use. There is, though, something here. When you look at this chart, what do you see here? Same kind of thing, right? There's no highs and lows, no valleys, but it does say something else. What do you see when you see this one? I see only one thing. I only see one thing. That's it. I don't see it. Maybe someone else sees something else. But like I said, we're trying to find trends over time on what types of calls came in. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's clear. Exactly. Clearly, billing questions clearly drove most of the calls, right? So that is something, though, we should probably show off. We should probably show this off in some way, but probably not as a line chart. It's probably not the best use because this is not the best view at all. Like, we can show this number off in a different way, like 162 to 774. You know, probably should show that off somehow. Let's explore some. Let's go here. Let me try this area chart out. Exact date. I mean, I'm just saying this could be an example. Can be. I don't know if this is the best, but this is an example where, like, boom. This kind of shows, if you look at this by each day, each day would kind of show, like, right here. It doesn't say it, but this kind of shows, like, how many calls came in each day overall. And basically, almost think it's kind of like a stacked bar chart, but kind of combined it into one with the area chart. I don't use this a ton, but it can be extremely useful. Can be extremely useful sometimes. But this can clearly kind of show sometimes when, you know, more calls came in than not. Another way that we can do it too is with the stacked bar chart, not year, exact date, where you kind of show it off in this way too, where it's kind of like, okay, each individual date, stuff like that. But I think what I'm kind of coming to the conclusion is that I don't think there's anything we could really do with overall, like, trends of just calls coming in. I don't think any of this is that useful. I don't think it's really that informative at all. If I kind of just want to look again at just overall calls that came in, which I just want to just see in general. Like, yeah, like this is just not. There's nothing really here. I mean, the lowest is like 1,045, and the highest is 1152. Like, that's nothing. Like, so every single day was consistent, right? So there's nothing here to work with. So right away we stop. Nothing to show off. There's nothing here. Nothing of substance is really here to look at. So unfortunately, what we could do though is get back to, you know, in this sense, probably showing off just a bar chart of the reasons probably. Let me go to here. Now my brain is all messed up. Not that. I'm gonna start all over again here. Okay. We go to reason. I'm gonna go to count ID. Measure that, count. Okay, all good there. And maybe can we do this based off Well, also something else you could do too here is, for example, you do like a quick table calculation. You do like percent of total. So in case you want to show off as like a percentage or something like that, right? Show like billing question is 71% of the total amount, and you can do something like a good old pie chart. I'm not gonna do a pie chart, but that's just a quick example of that. Let's do clear table calc, and if I want to just make it into, see, I don't know. I'm not feeling most of this. I'm just not feeling it at all. Definitely not feeling this. Let me look at call center again. See if I could kind of salvage something. I don't like any of this. Actually, might have gotten somewhere. And I think we might, and this is kind of like how making a project goes. As you go, you might explore some things. I think I kind of like this one a little bit. This one can show clearly how many calls came into each place, and kind of get to show you the trajectory of each one. I think what this does too is this eliminates this. There's no need for this one anymore, right? Because now we kind of combined it two views in one, where we want to show, okay, this is how many calls came into each place, which we have right here. We won't be able to do the entire one, but that's fine. I think leaving it this way is good. We could get rid of that, and let's see. I don't want to show that. Edit access. Get rid of that. Okay. We're going to do actually like this. So with this sense, we're using the stack bar chart to kind of show two things. We're trying to show how many calls went to each city, which we have right here. But we're also doing the color based off reason. So we get to show kind of the stack bar chart, and people can kind of go in and see two views at once without having to kind of go back and forth between a few things. Does anyone have any questions about this one? I know this kind of was more exploring. I kind of just fell onto it. But that's sometimes how it works, right? Sometimes you might not know 100% how you think it's going to turn out. But by understanding, okay, this view accomplishes two things in one, I think we're good with this one. But with that, I kind of then want one more. I want one more. They got the map, this, that. I want one more to figure this out. So we went over, what was it? Because we accomplished the call center and what type of questions came in. I think what would be good is if we figure out just overall how many calls came into each one. So this one, we'll just call this one channel. Rename this one to what was it? Reason. And this one, simply, once again, we just want to showcase how many calls came into each, what was it, for each channel. So we go to channel, go to rows, keep it nice and simple. How do you remove state labels and map? So if you want to remove the labels in the map, you go to marks right here and click label, and then it'll say show mark labels, and then just like click off of that. This should be not checked off. And if you do that, there should be no labels on there. For channel right here, let's also bring an ID for the text. Make that into a count. I'll get cool, no problem. Let's see. Probably keep it consistent here. Make it another bar chart here. Keep it consistent there. I think what I want to do here now is I want to get rid of this. Is same thing. Go to edit access here. I don't want to show that title. Don't need it. We know what we're doing. Is what I want to do is I want to throw a color on here. Now I want to be careful not to mix the colors in. Like I said, I don't want. Actually, I'm going to change the billing question color. Let's go. When you double click on that, I'm going to change that to, what does this look like? Like I said, you can pick whatever color. I just think because that blue interferes with the map, I don't want that to interfere at all. Green, I don't know. Yeah, whatever. It's not perfect. It's kind of harsh on the eyes, but it'll do for now. And then from here, I want each of them having their own color. So I'm going to take the channel color, and we're good there. I got you. That green is just rough. I can't do that green. That was a horrible choice. Let's go. Let's kind of mix around in here a little bit. What's one I use it like a lot? Assign that. No, that's terrible. What's also good in here? Sometimes you kind of could pick, different palettes. Apply. Oh gosh, that is not. No way. Colorblind's good. Colorblind is a good choice. Mindful of people. Yep. Oh, I kind of. I'll go with that. That's not bad at all. Go with that for that one. And then for this one, what I'm going to do actually for this one, I'm going to change the colors so it's a little different. And I'm going to do it from basically high to low. So if I want to do that, right, so this one, it's all set for a certain color, like Billing Question has a color, Payments has a color, and so on. For channel, I want to go, darker color to lighter for basically most ones come in. What I want to do for that is basically take ID, color, add all members, don't worry. And then go to measure, count. There we go. Now it goes, that color high to low. The color I'm going to change at 2 is, let's see. Maybe this one could be a green. Apply. Yeah, why not? Why not? There you go. So we're good there. Good. We're not going to use this, but I'm going to leave it in there. Okay, so let's go make ourselves a dashboard. Let's make ourselves a dashboard here. Oh, do I want to leave that there? No, it's not going to look good. Nope, no. Let's make a little dashboard here now. So to make a dashboard, we're basically taking all these sheets and putting it onto one dashboard. So I click the dashboard button here. Opens up into this one screen. And you're going to see a bunch of things like the size and the sheets right here. What we want to do is for size, depending on what you're using, I like to kind of go to generic desktop, and I like to make it even a little bit larger. Let me make it actually. It's all based. I would recommend if you're using a laptop, pick the version that works best for you with how it fits within your screen. If you're using a desktop, just be mindful. If you have my monitor is the size of like a typical desktop. If you have a larger monitor, just be mindful of it, because if it looks good on your end, but you upload it and it, it could look worse on like a laptop because it's like too large. So just be mindful of what you're working with. When it comes to here, there's a few things to understand before we really get into anything. We look down here to the left. There's called objects. These are very important aspects. We'll be mainly working with containers, and there's certain things we do. With a container is basically what we're going to be placing our visuals into. So think of it like when you make different, want to make a box here, a box here, a box there. But that's kind of creating this almost like a grid in a way. Will allow us to kind of move things around. With that, though, there are two types. There's tiled and floating. Floating is when I can take it, drag it, and it literally, as it says, floats. So this is not bad for some stuff, but of course, if you're trying to be perfect with your measurements, this could be very tough to work with. Tiled, it's drag and drop. Drag and drop. See, it picks it up automatically. It kind of like, think of it like it snaps in place. We'll be using mainly tiled for this. I feel like if you're just learning how to use the dashboard aspect, do tiled to understand how things work. And then as time goes along, floating can be used for more intermediate aspects, or when you have to float certain images within your dashboard. So if I'm trying to think of how I want this to go, there's a few things. I want, it's like a title up here. I'm going to put some filters over here and then go from there. First thing I'm going to do is take a horizontal container, throw it right there. So it takes that all up. I'm going to take another horizontal container. I'm going to drag it all the way up. Try what kind of touches the top right here. Drag up a little bit. And I want my title here, so I'm going to take text, put it into the container, and let's just call this, I don't know, call center dashboard, I don't know. Call whatever you want. Call center dashboard. Black, bold, actually. Doesn't really matter too much. Make it a little bit more. Cool, it's fine. That's all good for now. But at least we have the title in there. So we got the title there. We're going to put some filters here too. Next up is I want the KPIs to go right here across. Right here. It's very, very important stuff. So what I'm going to do is take another horizontal container. Put it right here. Take my KPIs. Throw them right in. Just like that. That's why I like the tile containers. It's kind of drag and drop a little bit. You'll see right now it doesn't take up the entire thing, right? It only takes up a little bit because that's just how it's not a big piece, right? So we want to do here, if you click into the KPIs, you'll see up here where it says standard. If you click that button and do entire view, and now it takes up the entire view. So it goes all the way across, all good there. I'm going to drag up a little bit. We don't need that much room. We also don't need the title. We don't need a title here. So if I right click on KPIs, just do hide title. Take that up. Let's look at this. So obviously some things will have to get changed, right? Like the text is way too small, too spaced out. We're going to fix that right now though. Like click into here. Go to, let's go right here. And I'm going to go right click and do format. I'm going to do measure values. And then from here, I'm going to go to alignment first. And then go to sheet. And then right here. For pane right here, we go to the alignment on there. Center pane puts everything right into the middle. We want everything in the middle. So the number, the name of the field is all there, all good to go. And now what we want to do is we want to make this a lot larger. A lot larger. Let's see. 20. 16. Let's make the total a little larger. Oh man, did I do the wrong one? Yeah, wrong one, my bad. So I have right here is like because we want the numbers to stand out a little bit more than the text itself. So we want the pane to be a little bit larger. Make it like 26. Bold it. And the titles are all good right there. I think that's a good number. Well, we could leave the lines there. It's not. It is what it is. I mean, like I said, we're not here to make it perfection. But I think it's good for right now. Next up, let's bring in another horizontal container. Bring it over here to the left. We want this one to be the map. So let's bring the map in right here. Good. We do not need this right here. We don't need this. So let's move that. Got the map there. It's fine right now. We're not going to leave it. We're going to leave it right there. Leave everything fine. Another container right there. Let's put it right in the middle. And I have, like I said, I have two bar charts here. I have channel and then call center. I have reason and channel. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to split this into two. Come on. Come on. Oh my gosh. God, why isn't it picking up? Come on. Jeez, what's going on here? Okay, let me start this over again. One quick second. Let's go right here. Map. Let me just make this floating. Get out. There we go. Don't need you. There we go. Okay, so I got two boxes in right here. And then within this area now I can do the bar charts. So let's go to reason. I could probably go right down here. Let's go. How do I want this to look? I'm not sure how I want this to look. I'm thinking because of how this is set up right now is I'm going to make some adjustments. I'm going to turn these not vertical. I'm going to go horizontal. I want to switch these up because I want to stack these up and down. And I feel this is not gonna work out that well because it's kind of too bunched up. So I'm gonna go back to reason and I'm gonna switch. I'm put call center down the rows, count ID to columns. Let me redo this. Okay. Good. Much better. Yeah, much better. Okay. This is much easier to look at now. We could take this, so you see right here with this reason, and we could do a few things. We can, for this one, actually, we could float, because this could go kind of like right here in the corner. This is not really too important to this. People kind of, actually, you know what? Let's take this and, how do I want to do this? How do we want to do this? Single row? Yes, single row. So put it as single row. What's good about this is we can kind of put it like right here. Right there. We could get rid of reason. And like I said, I might be going a little quickly with this, but it's because I don't want to take 4 hours with this. But at the end, as I'm going through, have questions at the end, I can definitely answer. But we have it right there. That's good. And then for the next one, we got channel. But of course, like I said, we can float this. We don't need it. Don't need that. I'm going to go back to channel and also flip that the other way. Channel down. Good. Okay. Let's even this out so it kind of can match. Perfect. Okay, cool. Okay, so I got that. I got that all set up. Now I got to do some cleaning here. I got to clean this up a little bit. I want to make sure before I continue, I'll give it a little bit of time. I know I had to go a little quick because making a dashboard this quickly, it's not so. If I had to walk through each part, it would take a long time. But I want to see at this point right now, with anything that you see, do you have any questions about the charts that are being used, the map, KPIs, anything? Anyone have any questions on anything that you see right now? What I'm about to do now is add the filters and then add some coloring. So it's gonna be a lot of small pieces kind of to pick up on. Does anyone have any questions right now with where I'm at or anything like that? Cool. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to be creating some filters. Now, we have to think about how we're going to filter. What could be filtered off of? So we already have one. We're looking at reason and an outage. We have the channel and we have the map. So let's kind of look at our data again. Like, is there somewhere we could go with this? I think something that could be really useful, in my opinion, is a few things, right? Like the response time and the sediment. I think we should really be able to see, okay, where did most of our neutral calls come from? Where did most of our negative ones call from? Which ones, were within, which one weren't? I think that could be very useful. So I think having those two filters on there will be extremely helpful for us to actually tell a full story of what's going on. In order to do that, I'm going to go to one of these tabs. It doesn't matter which one. And I'm going to drag in sediment. How long are each call? Now we can do it now. So think about overall, right? So we have this view, and that's a good point to bring up. We have this overall view, and we have already sliced and diced this into a bunch of different ways, right? We've shown how many calls came in by each call center and each reason. We went over, which channels had a lot of traffic, which states had a lot of calls, and we had these overall KPIs. If we got to think about a filter about how long each call was, I think that, that might not tell the full because there's a lot of different options within that. We can do a bucket We can set up a bucket with that for sure. I don't know though. It could be insightful. I don't know though if it would tell a complete story based off that. I think using those two columns of sediment and oh my gosh, my brain, the sediment and the response time will kind of accomplish that kind of stuff, right? We're trying to really just figure out people in general. We don't really need to almost overthink it. We kind of let's work with what we got, and maybe we do it and it doesn't tell a full story, and we go to that bucket. But I definitely think using the data that's already shown and already easily accessible to you with those columns would probably give a better story. But that's very good thinking. It's a very, very good thinking with the bucketing of the calls. So what I want to do is I'm going to go back to the KPIs. And I'm going to go to sediment. I'm going to go to filters. And for this, there's actually 5. That's actually important to know. We're going to go to use all. And then click OK. And then we're going to go to the drop down and go to apply to worksheets. Now, this can be something very important because what if you're working with a dashboard and you only want this to be affected to certain worksheets? It can be important. In this situation, we don't care. We want them all being affected. So all we got to do is go to all using this data source. So now when we use this filter on our dashboard, anytime we filter it, all the sheets will be affected with that at the same time. And I'll show you that in a little bit. And then let's also bring in, oh man, my brain is just not doing good. What was it? Response time. Not doing good. Long day to work today. A little bit of a long day to work today. My brain's a little shot. Because I was off yesterday. And coming in on a Tuesday, first day, I feel like always hectic. Same thing here. Okay. And then apply to worksheets, all using this data source. Cool. So now we could go back. Let's throw in another container here because I want them to go right here. There we go. And I'm going to let's do another one. Come on. Sometimes the only issues with doing tiled is sometimes Tableau does not like to cooperate and whatever. We'll figure it out. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to click in to this since KPI set up on this one right here. More options, go down to filters. For filters, I'm going to add in first one for sediment. And it automatically picks it up as a kind of like a checkbox. I don't want a checkbox. I personally like to just do multiple values drop down. Significantly cleaner to do this. So it takes up less room too. So just to show a sneak preview here, okay? If I go here, look what happens. They all go away, right? Because they're all now attached to this one filter. If I only want to show negative, this is everything that's happened from negative calls only, right? Most of them we could see are billing, significantly billing. Like especially look at Denver. I mean, Denver's getting killed with the billing. We can see where it's coming from. We can see most of these were call centers. Average score is down to 4.5. Makes sense. Let's say you want to only look at very positive, 9.5. A little more payments thrown in there. Same stuff here. Average call length same, but a lot more call center. Or if you want to do a lot, if you want to look at only positives, positive and very positive, you can do multiple. So I really like doing the multiple value drop down. Makes it very simple. And then let's do the other one. Filters, response time. Let's make this also multiple value drop down. I want to bring this like right. I don't want it there. Oh, I hate how this is set up. I don't like this. Make this a lot smaller. Oh my gosh, why? Okay, I'm gonna go back a little bit. Back. Distribute evenly. There we go. Okay. So we got that there. Come on. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Sorry about that. There we go. So I have those two there as a drop down can be very helpful. And I think something that could be good right here is will probably be good is can I make this a little bit? Let me put in this is just for me right now. If you want to do something here, you can. What'll probably be good is that if you put like a logo here in like the top left. Maybe image. I don't want let's see what comes out. Okay, is this it? Data Frenchie logo. Okay, cool. So if I took this, there we go. And then you can throw like a little logo in the corner, right? Like I just took like my logo to Data Frenchie threw in the corner. I'd recommend something like that too. Go. Probably make this text a little bit larger instead of kind of moving around a lot. Let's make this like 32. Much better. And there you go. So we have this, and the response time should also be set saying, well, yep, above. You want to look at only above that, which is bad. Remember, above SLA is bad. We can see right here some of the correlations going on. If you want to look at below, and if you want to look within. So we're all good there. Cool. So that's also from a filtering perspective. Now I want to do a couple things with the title here. So for channel, I want to make this into like a question. Which channels had the highest volume? Let's make it something like that, right? Something a little more like we're trying to figure out a question here. Which channels had the highest volume? And for a reason, like which call centers had the which call centers you always kind of want to do your dashboards like a question, like what should people understand we're about to do this, because we have two aspects. Like it's not like which call centers had the highest volume. It's at the end of the day, it's billing questions the biggest one. Which call centers had the If you guys can think of anything, you can let me know too, in case you have any ideas. Because we're trying to think about what's a title for the reason, right? Because the story we're telling is we have the different call centers and we have the different categories of what type of calls they could be. But we're trying, really at the end of the day, we're trying to show how much each call center had, but also how much were the reasons. But I think the biggest thing here is the billing question. I think actually we could just label this, give it what causes type of calls each call center. That could be something. What are customers mostly called? That's actually good. They're both really good. I'm gonna go with the last one. That's actually those are both really good questions. I like the last. I think I like the last one because it kind of leaves it. You do it in two ways, right? We leave it. It's very open ended. Like, okay, what are you calling for, right? Like in general, hey, what are we calling for? But you say mostly, right? The word mostly is like, okay, like at the end of the day, this chart is mainly telling us where customers are mostly calling for. So that's very straightforward, but also makes sense. I really appreciate that. That's very good. That's very good. Because of that, I'm going to take this. Let's see. Can I put it here? Yeah, put like right there. That's good. Cool. Ideally, what would be good is if I can make a little bit more room right down here. Let's see. Let's see if I could do this really quick. I'm gonna add in a container right here. Could I do it just right here? Yep, right here. Very small. There we go. Good. Get a little bit more extra room. Cool. Okay. Now what I want to do is, and right here. Where are our customers calling from? Okay. Cool. Okay. One more thing. We got to put some colors in here. We got to make this a little bit better. There are gonna be a few things here. We're gonna be adding some color to the background, but also doing something. We're gonna be doing something called padding the ends to kind of make sure it's not so packed in. So bear with me. Might be a little bit moving back and forth here, but we're gonna do our best. So we go to layout. We're going to just click on the original tiled frame right here, and I'm going to look. I run Data Frenchie. I have a certain color that I use. I'm gonna use that color. The color I'll be using is, does it have right here? I have a saved. The color code is 2B2F42. That's the color I use for Data Frenchie. I don't know. I like it. I'm kind of into like the navy blue type color. But for anyone else, you can use whatever color you want. But this one, I'll be using this. So bear with me when I do this, because things are gonna get a little weird. What we want to do here is, you might say, okay, the text is, hard to see. The charts are all white background. That's to be expected. What we want to do is now go to each of these, and you got to think white would make the most sense, right? White would stand out the most. Also changing into each of these. So now I click into here, which now I'm in the map layout, and then background. What was it? Not background. What am I doing? Making this white as well. Might have to bold that. There we go. Yep, bold that. Did I not bold the whole thing here? What's going on? There we go. There we go. Let us make this white, bold, done. White, bold, done. And then let's edit these. Format this legend. The font, white, bold. Guess I didn't do it, my bad. Oh, the body. Not title. White, bold. There we go. Cool. Okay, so that's there. Actually, I am a fool. We can be done at this point. I don't like, though. You're going to forget everything I just did in the last 2 minutes, because I don't like how this looks. I'm going to go back to what I did. I'm sorry about this. I'm going to put it back to just the black font. And I might not see it anymore, but I'll go back to the black font, and I'll explain why. I just don't like how it looks at all. Let me go to edit formats. This legend, font, black. Okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to each one now. I'm gonna leave it just the black font, and I'm gonna go back to here for background. I'm gonna change that to white. So now it's all almost like together into one. A little bit easier to see and understand. Let's leave this. Yeah, it's none. We'll leave that one for right now. So now it's almost like in its own container right now. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do something called like padding. Because like I said, things are a little bit too tight, especially on the sides. We're going to kind of push it in a little bit more. I wouldn't say more push it in, but to make it a little more snug. So what I'm going to do is go to map, layout, and see right now it's set to 4 for out padding. I'm going to make that like an 8. Same thing here. Make this into an 8. Make this into an 8. And then make this into an 8 as well, so we're all aligned. Okay, and then one thing I'm going to do, though, is down here is because we have these labels right there. What kind of strategy used in a dashboard? You like colorful? Yeah, so truthfully, in a dashboard, a lot of it will come down to what your company does, right? Like my company has a color code that we do. So we typically, like my color, we use a lot of green, right? We use a lot of green within it, so stuff like this could be very common that you would see within my company. Um, Within here that you'll see right here, it's kind of like we try to not get too far off with the colors. We try to, as a company, you are typically given, you know, a color spread of like, okay, for charts we use these kind of colors, for this we use these kind of colors, and you kind of just stick to that. But in general, when you're making a project, you kind of want to be mindful of it. Like you gotta think like there are people who are colorblind and might not be able to see the same colors you do in the same way. So you might make a, for example, a red and this, but sometimes people might not see that correctly. So being very mindful of who could be viewing it is very important. Um, but I really try not to make the colors too harsh on the eyes. Like red, I try to avoid red a lot. I don't think red's a very helpful color with dashboarding. Blue, like light blue, gray. If I do any red, it's a light red. I like to focus more on lighter colors than anything else. I just find it a little bit easier on the eyes to consume and understand. But definitely when it comes to picking colors, like definitely spend some time going on, ChatGPT or Google or whatnot, just understanding what are more proper color codes to use so people could be able to understand your dashboard the best way possible. What I'm going to do for this padding is I'm going to all size equal. Let me make the bottom 0. Okay. And let me make this, let me see what I can do here actually. Because I don't like how any of this looks. Can I squeeze this in right here? Can't. Important. Oh yeah, very important. Yeah, I mean, it can make or break a dashboard. Definitely make or break a dashboard. Okay. Let me get rid of this. Let me evenly. Yep. Okay. Let me go back to the padding here. Make this back to 8. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down a little. So then now I can put this in right there. Yeah, that's fine. Yep. And what's good too is like with these charts is they can always be like right here. Like I kind of move this down to make this a little bit more room. There's a lot you could do with that. But yeah, let me make these white as well. And yeah, I mean that's dashboard right there. I mean that kind of can tell a full story, and like you could test it out too. We could test this out. One thing we could do here is okay. Let's also do this because we don't want. Let's change this background to white as well. Okay, cool. So now if it goes missing, it's just blank, right? So obviously if someone comes on here and like, oh, like what happened to the data? If it says none, of course there needs to be a filter on or needs to be put to all. Because right here, like let's say someone's like, hey, we want to figure out, I want to look at response times that were above SLA that were positive. Like how many even those were there. So, okay, I have to go to above. Okay, this is how many calls were in general. And I want to go to very positive. So there's 400, right? Let's go. So it's actually glaring right here. Let's go to formats. It's very important here. I don't want two decimal, just 0. Okay, that's good. That's why it's good to test at the dashboard too, because right there, I didn't want this coming in as a decimal, but now that's much better. So yeah, this sets you up to slice and dice in many other areas too. We're all good. Something else that can be done too if you want is that these filters could be kind of stacked on top of each other. I personally like them like this. And yeah, that is the dashboard. I hope my camera wasn't in the way at all. I totally wasn't recognizing about Move that here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 2 degrees here. Yeah, really cold in Pennsylvania. Very cold. Um, it was good. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. 'Cause sometimes I totally forget that my camera is bigger than what I think it is, like the on the screen. So I appreciate it. But yeah, this is the end. Like, would this be the final thing I would show off? I mean, it hits on all the buttons. Typically when you're on the job though, you're not like just making a dashboard. And I mean, I know we just went an hour and a half, but if I went without talking, I could have had done like 20 minutes. But you never make a dashboard and it's done 20 minutes. Like this, I would not send out to someone because there is just like, so much to understand more about what's on the surface. But I think with this, it just gives in general all the answers that you need, right? It tells you exactly where did the calls come in from, what call center, the different reasons, where are people coming from, and we can slice and dice it based off response time and sentiment. So this is a great dashboard. It kind of just showcases, an overall perspective. This is a perfect example of something that this is not just a one-time thing. When this is an example of a dashboard that continuously someone could come in and check in on how the call center is doing. This is not something that's like, oh, here's a dashboard, I'm done. Like, no. You make this and you keep this connected and updated as more data comes in. So this is a kind of a landing page, a great landing page you can come into. And then ideally in a more structured data set or whatnot, you'd have multiple dashboards going on. But this is a great landing page for someone to come in and just understand what's going on. So yeah, I mean, I'm open to questions about this dashboard, or I always like to leave open time at the end for just general discussions or whatnot about this, career questions, anything like that. I like to keep the last little bit on just general chat. So if anyone has any questions about what we went over today or anything data related, I'm all eyes and ears for a little bit. So feel free to let me know if any questions before I wrap this up, stuff like that. Oh yeah, and also just heads up. Like I said, I announced the other day, or yeah, I think it was. That I will be sending out an email with the 2 winners for the resume review and portfolio review later tonight. So I'll be doing that, sending out to the 2 winners. Just heads up with that. I just have to, after I'm done with this, I'm going to the job board, adding in some jobs to the job board, and then I'll go do the drawing, and then I will. I think I made some chicken. It's freezing here. I made some chicken noodle soup, so I got a lot of good stuff to eat. So like I said, in the meantime, though, feel free to. Okay, well, let's see here. Do you have any resources, thoughts on how to think about the source of questions, business look to answer data? So yeah, great question, Walter. So what I would recommend personally is if you go to Maven Analytics. Let me go into here. I'll just type in here in case you haven't been to it. Maven Analytics is fantastic with how to do their projects. And I think one thing they do is if you go there and you go to their data playground, they have like a bunch of different data sets that they have. What they really have that's amazing is you can go to a data set and it gives you like 4 or 5 practice problems to kind of get started. And that kind of is good for a lot of people who don't really know the proper way to make a project. I know when I started, I was making projects that were, I wanted to curse, but they were terrible. They were terrible. Like, they made no sense. They were just a bunch of charts, made no sense, right? Maven does a great job at kind of showing, okay, here are some 4 or 5 questions to look at to kind of get started. And then from there, you kind of start figuring out what you want to do with the data set. Because, when you find most data sets, there's lots of things we could, show off. And sometimes that's where, people have struggles with projects because there's so much show off and it turns into just a ton of charts that make no sense. So I think the whole point of using Maven is good to kind of give you a jump start to actually making the proper project. Because like to this, like I put this together because of just, I know what dashboards typically need and what they need to show off. But this also can be done differently. You could go in here and make a different chart. You maybe show off a different metric, right? But the whole point of it is like, what are we trying to accomplish? And the whole point of this dashboard right here is we wanted to see how the call center performed in various ways, being the most volume, where are people coming from, and what are they calling for? And if we're able to answer those questions, which we can right here, we're able to solve the business question, which is what is the health of our call center? What is doing good? What is not doing good? And this dashboard accomplishes that question. Any more sessions on Tableau? So, like, I'll be very honest. I'll be almost brutally honest right now. Doing any like business intelligence tool like Tableau or Power BI is definitely like third on my list of technical workshops I like to do. I'm a huge Excel, SQL nerd, should I say? Like those are by far my most used and just closely related tools and stuff like that. But I still do use Tableau and Power BI. I use some of that also like in my current job and on my consulting that I do on side. I do like it, but like I know that my skills, I could teach way more. I won't say word advanced, more in-depth Excel and SQL content. But there is a need for dashboard, doing things like in Tableau or Power BI. But like my goal is to also bring in more instructors who come in and want to teach too, because also like I'm limited. Like I can't keep doing this once or twice a week. Like I might be limited. And maybe, get some people who are better at Tableau and Power BI and get to showcase their viewpoints. But yes, I do plan on, if I had to think how often Tableau would be coming in, I probably think every month or two it'd be kind of like a live session with Tableau. My next course I'm working on, free of course, is an intro to Tableau course. So kind of everything that we talked about right now, where we talked about the marks, the labels, the dashboards, like all this stuff will be covered in my intro to Tableau course, which I'm going to be trying to film this week and get out next week. So I'm one person. I'm very limited sometimes with how much I can do. But, if I get some time to do more dashboards, I will. But definitely most of my emphasis will be on Excel, SQL, and then like career development stuff. And then, of course, trying to find other instructors who want to come in and teach these concepts and stuff like that too. Because like I said, I'm one person. I would like to expand Data Frenchie into more than just me. But of course, I need to, go from there. No, good question though. Good question. I love doing these workshops. They're a lot of fun. I really enjoy just being able to work with people, stuff like that. So yeah. Do you have ideas of resources one can read, be updated, and interesting? Well, that's a very open-ended question, but a lot of resources one can read, updated. So I mean, I would recommend, one thing I like are newsletters. And sometimes you don't want to sign up for a newsletter and get emails, stuff like that. If you go to Substack and go on Substack and kind of look for different people's newsletters, you'll see, you kind of can pick like what you want to choose from to read and stuff like that. Substack's really good. But I'll be honest, I don't really spend I don't really have much time to, I guess, read up stuff or keep in track, because I work from 8 to 5. As soon as 5 o'clock hits, I'm going full Data Frenchie, and think if I have a live session, if I'm filming a course, like I actually really don't have a lot of time to like just do other stuff. But I will say I find myself on Substack sometimes, reading people's articles or newsletters to kind of stay up to date with certain kind of practices and stuff like that. Substack is definitely I would recommend too, to kind of check that website out and see what's recommended to you and stuff like that on there. Yeah, no, of course, yeah, no problem. Yeah, no, of course you guys, yeah, of course, I appreciate you guys coming by with this. Like I said, what's the top 2 things you like as a data analyst? What's the new thing you are trying to learn right now? That is a fantastic question. That's a great question. I really like the last part of that a lot. I really like that one. So, top 3 things I like as a data analyst. So, just thinking overall, this might be biased in some ways, okay? Some of these things could be biased. One, just overall the industry as it is, the ability to have flexible, the ability to be flexible with your working situation. For me, I've always worked in jobs. I had to work 6 days a week in a warehouse or as a teacher, and constantly going in person all the time was draining me. So I've been working remotely the entire time I've been a data analyst, and it's just allowed me. Like, if I had to go into the office, I wouldn't be able to do all this. Like, this could not be possible by me doing these live sessions, courses, content creation. Like, I couldn't do it. So just industry as its own gives you the ability to actually focus on your work and not have to be in the office all the time. So I like that part about the industry. The job itself, the work I do, it's very every day something new. So I do like the fact that it's not too consistent. There are some things you do every week or every so on. But the fact that you're learning constantly, I've gotten so much better in the last year from an Excel perspective. Like, I can't even describe just how much better I've gotten. So I just continuously being challenged. And then 3, finally, just compensation, being able to understand that it's a industry that you can get rewarded for your efforts. Like, if you actively are trying to get better, work your way up in the business, or if you find a new job, like, you can find the right job for decent compensation compared to other industries. So I think there's a lot to like about being data analyst. The job itself is great. As long as you have a right team, good manager, it's a great position to be in from a learning perspective. And also the fact that, you're in a field that's not, you're not going to get a 2% raise every year, right? You're going to have a good career. You're going to make yourself a good career and stuff like that. So it's something that, you actually get rewarded for good work if you're at the right situation. And what's something you're trying to learn right now? So we currently have, my job is very spreadsheet driven. A lot of work I do is in spreadsheets. We brought on Looker as a new, so if I've never heard of Looker, Looker is basically the same thing as Tableau or Power BI, but Looker is the BI tool for Google. And I've worked with it before, but not too much, and just understanding how Looker works, and I do like it. It's not bad. It's not amazing, but there's a lot you can do with it, and I'm hooked. So I've been spending a lot more time learning Looker. We could go into it and how it's really enhanced my work. There's a lot of work I've been doing that's been very spreadsheet driven, so be able to have something like Looker in my back pocket has been very helpful. So I appreciate that question. You'll find someone help posting. So Walter, with that, I have to think exactly how it's going to be worked out, because transparency, like, the job board doesn't. The most help I need with the job board is literally, I have, like, right now in my document, I have like 60 jobs in my job board right now that I want to enter to the sheet, but I don't have the time to do it all the time. And I want to make sure that the job board it's my pride and joy. Like, I take a lot of pride in that thing. I've been doing it for over a year, and I take a lot of pride. And basically, really just need someone to take the jobs I have and enter them into the sheets. But I understand that does take time, and the job board, while it is in a way monetized, the whole point is that money that gets monetized, just being open and honest, the money gets monetized. The whole point is that once it's enough, I can then literally pay someone to literally just enter the jobs for me, and I can then save 10 hours a week of free time. That would open me up to make so much more content, so much more live sessions, so much more courses. But because I'm not at that point yet, I'm having a hard time trying to figure out what's the right balance, because I can't bring someone in and, like, I can't have volunteers. I can't do it legally. But I need to figure out that thing there. And also, I can't pay someone and I'm losing money. Like, I'd rather just do it myself. So I have to figure that out. I don't really know the best way to do it, but I do know that for Data Friendship to keep growing, I do need to figure that out very soon. But I will figure that out, hopefully, by the end of the week. I need to figure something out, because I want to make sure. I probably jumped the gun too early on that, but I'm trying to figure that out before the end. But I'm just trying to be transparent with that. For entry level, what would be a good project for dashboard and portfolio? Yeah, so, okay, for entry level, what would be a good project dashboard to include? So that's, once again, that can depend on a lot of things. A good project, right? So looking at this project right here, it's very simple. I will say in this way, it is a simple project. Not too complex, but also the idea of it is simple. But this is informative. This can tell a story. You didn't just make a dashboard to make a dashboard, right? The whole point of this is we are trying to inform our boss how our call center is performing and the health of it. Now, when it comes to figuring out another project to do, you want to figure out, once again, the same thing. Like every project you make, you want to think you're trying to solve something. You are trying to bring value. You're trying to make something known. So anything you do within it, all you got to focus on is, does this actually solve something? Am I able to show the impact that I did through my analysis and then also within a summary part of your portfolio project? If you are doing it and you're realizing, I don't really know what I'm doing, I don't really know if this is making a difference. That's kind of what I did with one of the charts, right? Like when I went to the the channel one, right? We did the line chart and it didn't really tell us anything. Instead of me just saying whatever, I'm throwing it in. Like, no, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't want to do this. This should not make any sense. So when you're doing a project also, it's kind of the same thing, right? When you're going through the data and going through this, think to yourself, like, am I just doing it to do it, or am I actually solving something here? So that's all really should be focused on when picking a project. I would not overcomplicate it. Focus more on the value and impact you could bring within it than focusing on making it's the greatest thing in the world, because everyone should have their own opinion on what the right project should be. But at the end of the day, as long as you solve something and you're figuring something out within it and bringing value from your analysis, that's all that should matter at the end of the day. Unpaid internship. Yeah, that is something now. And once again, like, I don't know. I tried to look at stuff. Like, I don't really know how legally how it all works, right? Like I get it. Like Data Frenchie LLC is a team of one. Like, I just don't know. I try to look up so much, and I'm like, nothing's very clear. It's ChatGPT is my go-to. Like, I use that thing for everything. And it's like, oh, like, if you do an unpaid intern, like, it's not legal, but it's also not illegal. I'm like, okay, then what is it? Like, I don't get it. Like, and also, how does this process work? Like, I want to make sure that what I'm doing makes sense. And that, if it is, for example, an unpaid internship, like something I have planned, and what I would love to have is, Data Frenchie to grow in the beginning with people who want to help with things like the job board or helping with webinars and stuff like that. And then ideally, as you said, like an unpaid internship, right? What I could do in return is there's a lot, right? Giving the certain resources that, some people would typically have to pay for. So the resources or mentorship, things in that sense, where I could literally train people to get them ready for a first job. I could teach them here and there about different things about networking or building a project. And that stuff has value, but there's just so much to figure out. And I want to make sure if I do it right. And then I could kind of focus on that. But the goal is, and I don't ever pressure people with this stuff, right? If you want, for example, the job board is what I focus on a lot. I put a lot of effort into it, 10 plus hours. I don't complain, but I'm like, look, if you want access to free, it's right here. Of course, it's right there, all free. Not going to push you or anything. If you want, though, better jobs, ones that are typically remote or 0 to 2 years experience, like most of those will be set for people who pay for the tier members. But I take care of them, right? I give them the resume review. I give them calls on a weekly basis. Like, you get your value there. But it's until that gets to a certain point, then it's always going to be just like, I don't know what's the best thing to do. Right. So in an ideal world, once it gets good enough, then I could actually hire part-time employees to do stuff. But it needs to make sense logistically. So until that point, I gotta figure out, because I want to do more courses, but I haven't had the time to do my course yet. It's been 2 weeks. I haven't filmed it yet. So I need to figure it out. But that's for another day. I appreciate it. Yeah, of course. Yeah, no problem, Walter. Yeah, like I said, I try to be very transparent about this stuff. It's, it is what it is. Like I said, Data Frenchie's not built to make revenue. But if anyone ever decides to take advantage of stuff that is like that, I make sure that they get their value worth. But until that day happens, it's going to be very up in the air with a lot of stuff. Okay, looks like I'm approaching at 2 hours. Before I wrap up, does anyone have any last questions or anything like that before I wrap this up? And like I said, don't make sure before you go, if you haven't, I'm gonna sound like a YouTuber. Give the video a like, subscribe in case you want to look at, because I have on my profile now. I set it up for all the future live streams are gonna be on there. You'll see all the class, see what the title of it is. But of course, if you want to make sure that you could get things before they get onto YouTube, you go to datafrenchie.com, sign up from there, all in one spot and stuff like that. You also can find the job board, courses. I'm a team of one. I go crazy with this stuff. I love doing this stuff. So, but yeah, all the good stuff there. Of course, I really appreciate you guys coming by. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for now. I'll give you guys another second if you have a question, but I'm going to wrap this up. And like I said, next week we have Intro to SQL. I've already done that like a month or two ago. I've done some things differently now for this one. But next week, Intro to SQL will be going over things like select, the where, group by, order by. So basically that's another good one. If you haven't really worked with SQL too much, that's a really good one. Doing that next week, and I'm taking a week off because I'm going to Austin for a week. My company's doing like a company retreat. Once I get back from Austin, hitting the ground running in February. We got Power BI class coming up. I got a data cleaning and Excel class coming up. I got lots of good stuff going on. So, but I appreciate you guys coming by. Definitely feel free to check out the channel. Check out Data Frenchie for more info. And I'll see you guys around. I appreciate it, and have a good rest. Have a good rest of your night. I'll see you.